Welcome one, welcome all. We have another NFL Sunday ahead of us. 13 games on the horizon here. And look at Broccoli Taco in the chat as always. Good to see you, man. Richie Small's doing the right thing too, hitting the like button already. And if you haven't, hit that and also hit subscribe. We got Chris, we got Big Ed, and we got Yo Mama's Fave. That's a good one right there. As always, I am joined by our guy, former Millie Maker winner, Felix. How you doing, man?
Nothing better than getting ready for another beautiful Sunday of full slate. It gets a little light during the middle of the season. I'm excited for having a nice 13-game slate.
Oh, 100%. No problem, Brian. I know, especially in Saber and stuff, there's like a lot of questions that can be had in Saber. I think that was the question from the previous week. But yeah, if you guys ever have any questions at all, and if you don't want to say it in the Discord or anything like that, feel free to hit up the comments. We are going to do a giveaway today. The giveaway is going to be very similar to what we have done on other shows, but guess the highest score on the slate, and we will be giving away a hat. So the first one to guess it will be the tiebreaker. So if multiple people guess Jake Browning, it's an aggressive guess, but if multiple people guess Jake Browning, it would go to the first person who guessed Jake Browning. So guys, put that into the comments, not the live show chat, all right? So anyone who's rewatching, you can immediately rifle into the comments, but do it into, after the show, not the live show here. Correct, Brian, into the comments, not the live show chat. So, guys, that'll be a good giveaway for a hat here. Felix, man, it was kind of a daunting week for me last week, right? Because I can't believe we're only 7 days away from Joe Burrow's season basically ending. And as a Bengals fan, you get all excited.
Yeah, dude, I get it.
And we get our first backup quarterback matchup of the season that we'll get to in about 3 games. But as a Bengals fan, my season feels absolutely crushed here. But I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I mean,
I think you there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Potentially, you get not a great matchup here by any means going, against the Vikings D, but you can sneak out another win here. A couple matches against the Steelers. Arthur Smith is not the greatest play caller. You keep you in the game. You might sneak a couple wins, and then there's an outside shot that you're like 7-8 by the time he comes back, and maybe run the table in 2 games, you sneak one in.
No, I mean, it's really interesting too. Or it's not just the Bengals dealing with quarterback injuries here, Felix. And I do have hope that maybe Browning can kind of, if it was a true 3-month injury, it could be the season. I don't really know how to deal with the turf toe news, but also other teams missing a quarterback this week. Justin Fields out with I believe that was concussion related, right?
Yeah, he got knocked out pretty good.
Yep, JJ McCarthy, his injury was he's been performing so bad that they had to replace him. I feel like that's the injury for him. You have Jaden Daniels this week who is out as well. We get Stone Min 4K, Marcus Mariota. Lots to talk about on this slate here, Felix. We won't waste any more time, and we are going to go immediately into the Jets and Bucks. I did have a quick comment that I wanted to add here too. I don't think Marcus Mariota's ownership is completely reflected here, Brian. This is 100% textbook. When you're building in Saber, you want to wait for these ownership projections to add up. And I think 11:30 is going to be the prime time with all this news that we had in the QB carousel, basically. And Sean G mentions the QB injuries are good for the Falcons. I imagine Cousins will be traded after this week. That's actually, I think that could be a pretty good factor, especially, we're only 2 weeks in, right? I think that Cousins trade could be something very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Felix, Jets taking on the Buccaneers. The Jets had a rough go of things last week. They were pretty much bottom of the barrel in every major category, rushing and receiving. There wasn't really anything that they did too well. The Buffalo Bills were an absolute buzzsaw. Then you flip it over to the Tampa Bay side of things. I mean, they got Baker Mayfield, who's just got that dog in him right now. You got Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, getting absolutely vultured by Rachaad White to end that game. That shocked me beyond belief there. But really, I mean, you do have a very tight target tree for both these teams, right? And maybe the Jets defense is not as good as anyone was expecting coming into this year with back-to-back 30 pieces on their head. What's your take on this game here, Felix?
Ibuka coming off a slight injury at the end of the game. I'm going to focus my core on this game, specifically around Evans, potentially getting a long ball on Sauce. But my favorite play on probably in this week is probably going to be Bucky Irving. I think they're going to load him up with a bunch of touches this week. they gave him a little bit of light load towards the end of the week last week. I think that this is kind of a softer Jets defense than we have seen in the past couple of years. I don't think you don't have to stray too far away from the core pieces from Tampa Bay. Jets I'm kind of staying away from in general. I don't care for Ty God that much. So
yeah, I mean, look, Fields, I'm a big fan of Fields, right? And obviously the injury doesn't help too many things, but I think Tyrod Taylor is at least able to kind of get the ball to a guy like Garrett Wilson at a decent clip. Vita Vea in the middle there. I mean, the way, what was it? The Bijan run up the middle there late on is that what it was, right? And all of a sudden he just completely
swallowed him.
in that, and that was incredible to me. And it just shows, I mean, how good Vita Vea is. But when they stop the run, can the Jets be able to run the ball? And if they aren't able to do that, could this be a big Garrett Wilson spot? I mean, that's the only thing I'm looking at on the Jets side of things. I don't really have too much care for Breece Hall. Probably not going to be interested in Tyrod because look at the reality of it, right? We got Mariota at mid price at 4K, right? So it's like, we got a bunch of other better spots and even cheaper tags than 4,800. And I mean, if it's not Garrett Wilson, then you could even look at the Bucs defense at 3,500. I like what you said about Bucky. We saw what James Cook did last time out against this Jets team. Like, they could just be very subpar defensively, which again is not the standard that we have come accustomed to over the last 2 to 3 seasons. But in reality, we are kind of staring at back-to-back weeks, one of those weeks against the Steelers. So, and we know what this Baker Mayfield-led offense is capable of, and it's not like it's like the Jets have showed any promise. So I could see myself buying maybe a little bit on the Bucs. If anything, it would probably be Bucky with you. The Egbuka slightly banged up there, was getting wrapped up around his thigh. It looked like the left thigh or whatever.
Yeah.
I still don't like targeting against Sauce Gardner. It's like wide receiver one. Yeah, still going to be like the one thing.
It's not my favorite play. Yeah,
exactly. That's like if you were still nitpicking this Jets defense, I think a wide receiver one is where you would nitpick that, and that's Mike Evans, right? Who he's always been touchdown or bust for the most part, but. Yeah, I think I'm kind of hand in hand with you on Bucky. Maybe, if that Egbuka price is high. Oh, my God, 6,300 is getting there.
Like Brian D said, they also lost the offensive guard this week.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point, too. I mean, you just look at that stuff, too. It's going to add up a little bit. And I do think that the Bucs take care of business pretty handedly. But Garrett Wilson actually might be my favorite play on this one. Okay. Yeah, Brian D mentions it. GPP flyers. If you wanted a GPP flyer, I mean, I think Garrett Wilson's going to be sub 5%. So if you did want to kind of give me that line, I'll say under 5%. Garrett Wilson would be the play.
Yeah.
I see a Hollywood Square. Oh my gosh, I do. You know what? It would be good, but you know how lazy I am to kind of design that type of stuff here. I'm drinking water out of a wine glass because it's my turn to do the dishes. All right, your mama's fave. It's going to take me a little bit to get that one done. And Bajo Jenkins, gross to say, but Wentz or Mariota. We'll get to Wentz here in just a couple games. I mean, I think if anyone watched the show last week, I was very high on Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence shot himself in the foot too many times, but also his receivers let him down, more specifically Ryan Thomas. He could have easily slung 4 or 5 touchdowns without a single doubt in my mind. So I'm still going to be targeting against this Bengals defense, but we'll get to that very shortly. Your team, I mean, not your team, obviously you're a Chargers guy, but when I look at Puka Nacua, you're a big fan of like Devontae too, and it's like Stafford. They looked elite last week, and I think someone in the comments last week said I'm going to triple stack them each week. I'm going to play Stafford with Adams and Puka
as long as they're healthy.
Yeah, it looked great, right, Felix? But the Eagles. I will say this. I get to take my one victory lap. They beat the Chiefs, right? And I was very, very confident in that, especially with how banged up the Chiefs were. But it's an Eagles team that I don't have the right read on yet. I mean, I think they're far from peaking, which I think most great teams are going to be far from peaking at this point. Like, not even the Bills are even near their peak or whatever. But it's like, I don't really know how to feel about this Eagles offense, and I don't really know how to feel about their defense. Help me out, Felix. Are you a believer in this Eagles defense early on, or are you looking more at the first 2.5 quarters against the Cowboys where they were a revolving door?
Yeah, I don't. They're hard. They are very hard to read this year. I do think they're somewhere in between. I think they're pretty young, so I think they will get better towards the end of the season. But I think early on the season they're going to struggle a little bit here and there. They're the pieces that they're going to struggle with are at like cute cornerback 2 and Cooper DeJean's got one lockdown, right? So it's kind of like early, because the Jets always had good two quarterbacks. I can't really think of an example right now of one solid 1 week, and someone's always hurting in the second one. But I think this could set up for whoever's playing against the number 2 here for that pass area. And I think the Eagles are going to try to slow it down. I think it's going to be more rushes. I think A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith may not be involved again. May not be. Never know. But I do have a lot of – I think Bucky's my favorite play this week, but I think Saquon Barkley might be the highest scoring player of the week.
I did not know Bucky was going to be your number 1 play on the week. That's interesting there. But Saquon obviously being number 2. We saw this matchup in the playoffs last year. That should be mentioned. And that was the game with what was snowing, right? Saquon busted out, a big time performance, but also the Rams were able to give the Eagles a scare in the midst of that Eagles peak. I mean, I think I know I said it before the playoffs started last year that I felt like the Eagles were the best team in football. The way they were just dominating teams, they handled the Bengals coming in. Like the Rams were the closest team to beating them throughout the postseason, and they got their number a little bit. And obviously, the Rams defense has been one of the surprises. Felix, I mean, a lot of people were pegging them to be, pretty subpar coming into last year, and then this season, they've held their own to start it out, and that's no surprise to anyone. They've been a top 5 passing or pass defense through the first couple games. And again, small sample, right? It's like I don't want to get too carried away with numbers from the first 2 games. But it seems like you're getting a bad passing offense against good passing defense. It would have to be a lot of Saquon here, you'd assume.
Yeah, and I think the last 2 times they faced the Rams, he's had like 200+ rushing yards. So,
oh my God.
I think I could be wrong, but I saw that on Twitter, and it stuck in my head.
See, that's interesting. And look, I'm concerned about the Hurts thing right now. I'm concerned about A.J. Brown. I'm concerned about Devontae Smith. All right. We saw what Herbert did to that Chiefs team. Well, Hurts didn't do that to that Chiefs team, right? Just kind of.
I don't want to get too excited.
Throwing caution into the wind on any pass catcher on the Eagles right now until Hurts can complete more 10-yard passes than he does tush pushes on the season. I think that was the most interesting stat. He's had more tush pushes this season than passes completed more than 10 yards down the field. I mean, it's just an absurd stat when you really think about it. I will say this: I don't want to get too carried away with the nuances of NFL officiating. The Eagles will get flagged on a tush push tomorrow, and it might be the most phantom ghost penalty of all time, but they're going to get flagged on one. Yes. Saquon Barkley is going to house it because of it. I just think the way that Chiefs that was, what was it, Dean Blandino who said I'm done with the tush push or whatever. I think everyone feels the same way too. Like I'm not even mad that the Eagles have gamed the system and absolutely become masters at it. And I was a proponent of, you might as well stop it, but at the same time, it's like, well, we got to make sure everyone's like, there's no one's false start and no one's lined up over the ball. Like you can't just miss the basics at this point. But it would be Saquon for me. Look, I played a lot of CD last week. CD ended up getting that bonus because of overtime. But I'm like, man, why don't I just click on Puka? I mean, you had the historic rookie season last year. He was really good when he was healthy, but obviously we didn't really see him healthy that much with the knee issue. And as long as Puka's healthy, I mean, he's going to be a top-tier play every single week. And, I'll continue to play him over guys like Devontae and, Stafford doubles here are not really in the cards here in Philly. Like, to me, I might just stick with a couple of the stars here, and that's Puka and Saquon, and then kind of get my fix in on the other 12 games on the slate for the most part. Don't think we have too much to add here. We got Chicago defense in a smash spot. That will be interesting. And yes, we'll get to the CMC Carolina matchup later on, the Niners and Cardinals game. That'll be interesting. Hold on here. Oh my gosh. I did not know the score of the Indiana-Illinois game was 35-7, especially how bad Indiana looked to start out the season, which it was just week 1. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be putting too much stock into that. But Mendoza had a little bit of troubles early. I really liked Altmaier coming into the season as well. I did not expect Illinois to get steamrolled like this. Whew. All right, you ready for some big news? This is probably the biggest injury news of the slate, just in terms of the amount of players missing, right? So, Joe Burrow out, right? We know that. J.J. McCarthy out. Aaron Jones out. Got a lot of skill players who are actually going to be very solid plays in this one here. And Jordan Mason will probably top the list here at 5,400, being a very popular option here, Felix. You also got the battle of the Bayou. You got Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, the two best wide receivers in football. Jamar Chase did say he will gritty in the end zone if he scores, which I'm looking forward to that. As a Bengals fan, I'll take the lead on this one because after Burrow went out, a lot of people say, well, the offense didn't dip. In a sense, Browning made some incredibly dumb decisions, but the way he said it, he's like, sometimes you just got to sling it. That's what he does. And a lot of really short passes that were centered around Jamar Chase, getting Jamar Chase the football early on. And look, I'm going to make a call right now. The Vikings defense scores tomorrow, Felix, because they jump one of those short throws. Mm-hmm. But this is like the type of thing where you can kind of negate Brian Flores' strengths with a lot of quick passing to where those blitzes aren't getting home. The problem is a lot of those quick throws, if a corner or someone can get a beat on that, and if he has to make a second read, there's sometimes where he just floats it up in the air. It makes me uneasy knowing that Browning is going to go against this defense where there's a lot of moving parts. But again, I'm going to be very high on Chase because of the fact that this is more of a pass funnel. The Bengals have not been able to run the football through 2 weeks. Going back to last season, I mean, the Vikings were probably one of the they were the second worst or the worst team against in terms of yards allowed in the passing game. Through 2 games this season, they've obviously been better. Who did they go against last week on prime time? It was the Falcons.
The Falcons, yeah. They just got slow rolled, and it was just a slow beat down, man. It was such a snooze fest, but the Falcons knew they could just run all over them.
That was the thing. Okay, so I got Vita Vea getting a tackle mixed up with someone. Who did the Bucs go against? It was the now I screwed up from earlier in the show. No, it was Chubb. Chubb tried to make a run in there.
Yeah,
something like that. They did.
I knew who you're talking about. Yeah.
Now I was like I'm like, wait a minute, who did they go against last week? But yes, it is like very interesting too because T. Higgins caught his long touchdown but was seldom targeted. Chase Brown was out there for most of the game, but Samaje Perine is getting more and more involvement on those third down works for those obvious passing down situation to kind of help with pass protection. And then I got to mention this too. I mean, look, Carson Wentz is 4K. I just mentioned how bad this Bengals secondary has been. They are the 5th worst in the league in terms of yards allowed through the air already. I think that number continues to grow. And it should be mentioned too, DJ Turner and Cam Taylor-Britt both missed practice in the recent days. I don't know if they're going to be a full go or not yet, but you already take 2 corners who are having a rough season and you take them out of the equation for the Bengals. Things are only getting worse in the secondary. I love this game. I like it to go over. Felix, what do you think?
I'm so excited to talk about it with you because I'm also over on the over. I'm Team Carson Wentz here. I'm with Big T. Just love Carson Wentz, and I was a big fan of him back in the day. So I think it's gonna be a high scoring affair with defenses both putting up a bunch of points. I think it's gonna be dumb mistake after dumb mistake, but making each side have to throw the ball. I think there's a little bit more opportunity for Chase Brown to kind of he's going to get a little bit more work, so it might eat into the pass catchers a little bit on the Bengals side. But I love Jefferson. Jalen Naylor might be a sneaky. We called it last week with Tyquan Thornton getting a long bomb. I think we might get a Naylor long bomb in this game. And I think, like Thielen's going to be looking good here. I think, just a lot of little pieces here and there they're going to pop up more than they're projected.
And you're exactly right, too, with the long ball. Tyquan Thornton was missed on that first one in that fourth quarter. Yeah. It was late on in the game, and then Tyquan Thornton was missed. And that actually propelled me to a top 1% finish in the Millie. I didn't profit, but it did make me a little bit of coin back. And it was because of a Tyquan Thornton team that ended up getting me. I think it was very close to a top 500, but you know how many entries there are in it.
Yeah.
But I like your call on Jalen Naylor because who did JJ McCarthy miss on a touchdown last week? Jalen Naylor. And what was it, that slot fade that Collinsworth was going on about? It's like you just have to make this, so you have to throw it as high as you can. Basically, he was going on and on about it. Mm-hmm. I like that call there. I think this Bengals secondary is very gettable. 4K for Carson Wentz is going to be a great tag. I would play Justin Jefferson a lot this week. If we already had one LSU wide receiver let us down in Brian Thomas. if Justin Jefferson was in Brian Thomas's position last week, he goes for 40. I mean, I'm embarrassed for Brian Thomas Jr., but it is a good game to kind of target here. Anything else?
I'm full fading the running back for Vikings, Jordan Mason. I'm just full fading it. There's something about there's a bunch of ownership on him, and he's not the greatest pass catcher. Wentz doesn't throw a lot of checkdowns based on what I've watched back in the day. I prefer the passing game through the Vikings, and I'm a notable Mason hater, I guess, because I fade him through all best ball. So, and
rants relying on Wentz that'll end well. It is funny too, because you could argue that is he better than JJ McCarthy? Yes. Does he have the weapons to succeed? Yes. Did Kevin O'Connell make Sam Darnold look good and Nick Mullins? Yes, right. I think it's the thing too. If it was the Browns getting this spot, with Flacco could have gone off in this spot in week 1 too. But it's I could see the thing. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to work magic, and we're just well. Yeah, I mean, look at Arnold right now, and then look at maybe you'll set up the next big contract for Carson Wentz there, right?
Yeah.
P. Lally, welcome to the show, man. That would be you'll catch up. You're only a few minutes behind there too, so you can watch on 2 times speed. You'll probably catch up real quick there, P. Lally. All right, let's move on. Falcons taking on the Panthers here. We got Bijan Robinson, who looked electric last time out. Michael Penix, Drake London, and then you look at the Carolina Panthers. They moved the ball late. That fourth quarter was really good for them against the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Outside of those, the first 3 quarters, I think you want to burn the tape. I don't know really what to think about. I mean, you had Hunter Renfrow. I think he caught a short touchdown there late in the fourth quarter as well. Ted McMillan looked good. I think he had 5 for 90 at one point. I don't know if he exceeded that, but I remember seeing that in the box score. To me, though, it's going to be a lot of Bijan in the mix at 7,900, and it's a stud. Drake London coming off a very underwhelming performance last time out. I don't know what to really do with Drake London and Michael Penix. This is going to be a decent spot, as we know. I mean, the Carolina Panthers defense is not elite by any measures. And as far as the Panthers go, I mean, it just feels like Tet, maybe Chuba, and then I don't really care for anything else. What are you doing with this game, Felix?
Yeah, there's not a lot of extras that I want on this in this game. It's just that it's definitely gonna be T-Mac, and we might sprinkle in some Chuba in there, but I don't want a lot from the Panther side too much. Other than I'll probably have a good size of T-Mac, but I won't have any much more of that for my bring backs, because I probably will have plus 10%. I'll probably be under the field on Bijan, but I will have my own little bits. I'm definitely going to be overweight on Drake London. I do know that that JC Horn is good, but Drake London's one of my favorite wide receivers this year, just because he's going to have. I just like target share for my wide receivers, and there really isn't anybody else showing that they need to get more target share. And I think that when they do pass, it's going to be Drake London.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in game 1 too. He had a bunch of targets there, and it was kind of interesting. And then you get this question from Lion Cubs here. Do you like the Falcons D here, or did they just look good against a bad JJ? Can I add something? I think they look good against the Bucs too. And I say that too. I know that we saw Emeka Egbuka score 2 touchdowns, but if you really looked at the stats, the Bucs didn't move the ball all that well against this Falcons team. And
they struggled.
Yeah, and I think I don't mind paying up for the Falcons defense. You're going to have value. I like what Felix just said, talking about taking a hard stand against Jordan Mason. But you're going to have spends like that, 5,400. You're going to have kind of Walker as well into the mix too. And it's one of those things where if you were to just kind of fully break it down, right? Well, you got 2 mid 5K running backs, you got 4K quarterbacks, you got anywhere in between. I mean, as long as you have a 4K quarterback, you can really just spend whatever you want.
Yeah.
I do think spending up at defense is not the worst thing in the world, especially against a team with a team total of sub 20. It's just
there's a defense you can spend up for that I'm excited to spend up for. Let's just put it that way. That we haven't gotten there yet, but that is something I'm excited to spend up for.
Yes. And this is a home opener for the Panthers, just for what it's worth. They played at Jacksonville and at Arizona. So maybe a little bit of juice in the step of the Panthers there. Just an extra home game. I kind of factor that in. And your mama's fave ass, no Renfro.
Not for me. You could get so much more value everywhere else. I don't think he has he's a slate breaker, and we're talking milli table, here. Like, I don't know, if he's a slate breaker, and you kind of for his price, because there's so many save options that you could spend up other places. I think you need to be looking at those positional places to spend up a little bit more when you can save a little bit there.
And just for what it's worth, too, all those catches and both those touchdowns were just complete garbage time.
Yeah,
they were not really in the run of the mill.
Yeah, we called that defense right off the rip. I was like, oh, they scored on the second play. I was pretty excited about that.
I forgot about that. That was good. I like the hanky in the slot. Hunter Renfro, but if Leggett is out, that's a good point too. With Leggett being questionable, talking about a guy who's just been
he shit the bed. Yeah,
I don't know. He just has not been it, man. And you just look at wide receiver. It wasn't Dylan Moore the next two, but it's they're still missing Jalen Coker and stuff. I mean, I guess with Leggett missed, maybe you can make the case more for those fringe wide receivers there for the Panthers, but otherwise. Bijan, London, Chuba, and Tet. Really, that's a short list, but none are going to be too high off the board here, except for Bijan, I think. And London, I do like that London call the more I look at it, and that is definitely a good thing to have. AJ Terrell being out too, I did like that. Brian D mentions and Atlanta running a lot of zone. Tet could definitely smash in this equation here. The Pitts, we get Pitts into
Pitts is not a bad play. Yeah, Pitts is not a bad play. I'm not really a Mooney guy either. I think they kind of threw a couple quick screens. I think they're trying to get him involved. They, all the offseason said they're going to feed him. They haven't stuck true to that word, but he has been more involved this year than he has in previous seasons. So,
absolutely, Jaguars taking on the Texans, and the Texans here. I mean, these are two. I don't know what to think about this matchup. AFC South, Trevor Lawrence. I can blame Brian Thomas as much as I want for how bad he looked last week in terms of, throwing an interception late or, just in the red zone, which I think that throw was just inexcusable. I think it was his first interception. But also there's Brian Thomas pulling up in the middle of the field, not wanting to get hit. How do you fix that? He's got the yips somehow. And you look at CJ Stroud and stuff, talk about an offense that's regressed since, year one, right? Where, last year, Bobby Slowick gets, the blame. I blame Bobby Slowick. Bobby Slowick isn't there to be blamed anymore. And now we're through 2 weeks here where, again, it's just kind of underwhelming for the most part. Nico Collins, we really haven't seen him have a boom game just yet, but the first quarter was promising last week and then kind of did nothing for the most part. The running game was Chubb breaking off a long one late, but otherwise it's been mediocre to subpar. Woody Marks has showed promise, but again, you're just kind of looking at a gross team overall for fantasy outside of Nico Collins because their wide receivers are, Xavier Hutchinson, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and Justin Watson. There's no guarantee any of those guys are going to get above 50% of the snaps. So for the Texans, it's gross. Did Jake Browning just, guide off, a wide receiver one performance to Jamar Chase against this defense? Sure. So I think that would be the selling point on Nico. And then I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Thank God they played Travis Hunter on defense, man. He sold the game for them. Clear pass interference there late, then got burned on the very next play, and then was subbed out. I don't know what to do with this offense either. Look, I played them through the first 2 weeks. ETN looks good. Tootin looks great. Brenton Strange is non-existent after the first drive. I don't even think they went his way. Just feels like a really gross game for the most part here, Felix. What do you think?
I agree. It's a gross game. I feel there's going to be a one-off piece in this game that kind of blows up. I'm going to get hurt by Brian Thomas Jr. again. I already know it. I'm a big fan of his. I can't blame him. Trevor Lawrence is throwing hospital ball after hospital ball every week, and it's and they're sending him over the middle. I wish they would send some better routes. But the problem with that is that the passing coordinator job that who they hired was I can't remember the coach's name, but he was in Seattle and they hated him. And he went to Chicago.
Waldron.
Thank you, Waldron. Yeah, and I'm just saying that maybe there's a reason why the Jags are struggling in the passing game because they have all the talent you could possibly want. Yeah. De'Ami Brown getting a late a deep ball which was nice, but I don't know. I'm probably only going to play Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to avoid the running back room until it kind of feels itself out a little bit more. And then on the Texans side, it's just Nico. Yeah, it's just going to be Nico for me on them. I'm not really touching quarterbacks, probably. It's a very mid-game. I feel like a lot of 3-and-outs on both sides.
That's the best way to put it. It's a very mid game, right? It's just there's not a lot to get excited about. I do get the Nico love. I'll say this: Brian Thomas had some just straight drops too. I'm actually mad. De'Ami Brown looked like the best wide receiver for them last week. And even he dropped. I think he dropped a wide open touchdown in the end zone as well. I think that was thrown toward the left pylon there, going into that. It's just like, I mean. I kind of like this too, where, hey, Brian, I did say I'm just too lazy to do dishes. That's the issue right here. Drinking out of a housewife wine glass. I'm drinking water out of it. That's the worst part.
Is it hot or cold water?
Yeah, it's room temperature. I go to the JSU out there. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy work, but it works. There was also one question. The defense, the Jags, they did force some turnovers. They did, have some scares. This Texans offense right now, I mean, I'm willing to go against it at any time, especially with a home defense with a slight favorite. I'm okay doing that. Yeah, but it's just I don't think there's too much time to spend on this game. It's Nico and then kind of everyone else for me. I'll sell on a game and I'll sell on the Texans and Jags here, and I probably won't watch a down of it because I've already watched too much of the Jags and Texans this season because
they won't be on the red zone for sure.
Oh yeah, God, man! I'll tell you what, Sunday Ticket on YouTube has actually been a really nice thing because I can watch it picture-in-picture on my phone, so I can catch a lot of games real quick and just immediately go picture-in-picture, and which is basically I can use Twitter while I'm watching the game. It's nice.
Yeah, I was at a kid's birthday party last week, so most of my Sunday was spent at an arcade.
Oh, hey, you know what? I would prefer to spend my Sundays at an arcade. Yeah,
it was actually pretty
cool. Jake Browning sling the rock 35 times against Carson Wentz. But hey, we live, we move, and we go too. The Colts taking on the Titans here, and Daniel Jones, QB1. I mean, I just don't know. They beat the Broncos last week against all odds. I have to say, I was completely wrong. I thought that they would have a tough time there. Bo Nix didn't play great, that's for sure, but Daniel Jones had a good enough game to get the dub. Jonathan Taylor looked amazing. We were, the flop flag on Jonathan Taylor? You went right back to him. I have to give you credit. You mentioned last week on the show, wasn't as good of a spot, but you were going right back to Jonathan Taylor because the workload was so good. Is that the same this week here, Felix?
I mean, how do you go away from it? He's just getting rushing touchdowns taken away from him. If you just add, an extra one here and there to it, I'm going to go back to it. It's not my favorite play, but I do like someone mentioned earlier, a nice Bucky JT start, get all the workloads. I like that start. Daniel Jones has been incredible. Weirdly enough, another cheap quarterback. He's still 5,400. They're running the tush push. They have adopted it. They're going to run it. They're going to use his legs. They're using his ability, which he's not the greatest passer. So what are they going to do? They're going to run him a little extra. I do think, honestly, maybe Daniel Jones JT is the key to this slate. I don't know, but I'll have a couple shares of that little combo there.
Perfect. And I do agree. And Daniel Jones, they've also really, speaking of tush pushes and stuff, they're just running the QB sneak right at the one there. Yeah. Not even giving JT a look. It'll be second down. They'll just be all right, it's Daniel Jones time, baby. And it's got fantasy value, right? If you're able to catch on to it. And I think DraftKings really adjusted fast on the sportsbook side because I think anytime touchdown for Daniel Jones was almost identical to Jonathan Taylor because I do a lot of live betting here, Felix. And I think their odds when they got to the goal line were plus 110 and minus 110, which you understand when you're paying the rake there and stuff. Yeah. And for example, I thought it was a good idea to do Jeremiah Love when they were at the 1 yard line for Notre Dame. And that worked out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. A lot of times it doesn't work out. But they were really quick to no value on Daniel Jones. I was expecting maybe you get Jones plus 330 or something. But no, that wasn't the case. As for the Titans, though, I do want to mention, I think it's just Jones and Taylor for me. And if you did want to stack it, Tyler Warren's the guy.
I forgot to mention Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren has been exceptional so far this season.
Yeah, and Brian D mentions it in the comments there. I mean, 70% target share in zone defense, and Tennessee runs a lot of zone. He's damn good. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no secret about it coming out. I like Colston Loveland a lot, but if you just talk about usage directly into the pros there, I mean, it just shows you how bright of an individual a guy like Tyler Warren, where he's able to play all over the field, but also immediately translate into an NFL, elite tight end, basically. I mean, there's just no escaping that. I could see myself playing a ton of Tyler Warren here. He will be a little bit chalky, so it's not getting off the board or anything. But if I were playing Danny Jones, I would probably click Tyler Warren with him. I could maybe talk myself into like a Downs or a Pittman, but I don't want to get too carried away. This Titans defense, though, through 2 weeks, has struggled against the pass. Look, I don't know. I don't want to throw any of these performances away in a young rookie quarterback's year. We talked about it with the Broncos defense. Are they just worse than we thought? Both these teams did have the beneficiary of playing the Broncos defense. We got to see directly how they performed against one. One team did really well. One team really struggled. I like Cam Ward though.
Yeah. And we also called the down play of Calvin Ridley and the up play of Alec. I call him in my head. I always call him Mayonnaise, but Alec Mana. That guy.
Theo Manor.
Yeah. Yep. I think we're starting to see the rise of Alec and he's going to push Calvin Ridley to the 2 spot eventually in this offense, where they're going to run it through Alec and not Ridley.
Yeah, A.O. Manor. So I actually completely forgot the reason why my main team. I think I lost like $100 on 2,500 in or something like that, and then a lot of it had to do with how like A.O. Manor was the wide receiver in the punt wide receiver in my lineup.
Yeah.
So it just worked out perfect where he went absolutely off, and Cam Ward with a magical play to find him in the end zone as well, which he threw it backwards across his body over the middle, and sometimes it works out. Most of the time it doesn't. But A.O. Manor definitely got a lot of looks, not only early on in the game, but also just like late on. I think I bet Calvin Ridley live prop on his over, and I got good value on it because he got a catch to the very next play, and then I proceeded to watch him get one more catch the rest of the game. And then I was like, oh, and I think he had 43 yards receiving near halftime. And I think he ended with like 58 or something like that. He was very underwhelming. And that was with a very positive game script for him as well. Mm-hmm. I think it is a lot of A.O. Manor. I think it is. I'm not willing to throw in the towel on Chig Okonkwo yet.
I'm going to Chig. Yep.
I'm gonna keep chasing a little bit of Chig. This could be the last week if he really lets me down a little bit, because Gunnar Helm could be more of a factor than I really assumed coming into the season. But A.O. Manor, Pollard. I need your Pollard take. Getting just a ton of work. I mean, when we talk about just playing guys who are going to get a lot of work, it's leverage to Jordan Mason, who probably comes in 2 or 3 times the ownership. And Pollard's a good play too. He's going to get some ownership here. But like Mason could be 28% and Pollard could be like 12%, for example. What are you doing with Tony Pollard here?
It's hard to get to him just because of the price point. I think he's like $100 more or less than Kenneth Walker. I mean, double check. Yeah, he's $100 less than Kenneth Walker. So it's definitely a good place to pivot. He's a good pivot play. And, he's getting the work. And he's got 1 or 2 more weeks of getting all of the work to himself. I don't know if they want to run him into the ground, because Cam obviously has been struggling a little bit through the air and getting comfortable. So they might rely on him pretty heavily the next couple of weeks again. And he could easily break 100 with one big long run. He has the explosiveness to do it. He just hasn't shown it yet so far.
Yeah, that's a good point. 3 years ago, he definitely had the explosiveness, and he broke his leg. And then it's like, oh, man, does he have the explosiveness? But he will get a ton of work. And that is like the important thing to kind of mention. J.K. Dobbins, looked okay last week too. It's just one of those things where I just think playing the guy who's going to get 20 touches is never a bad idea on any single slate. I hated games before. So I'm not just saying I like everyone. Like I already said, I hate Texans and Jags. I hate the Rams game really and the Eagles. And I don't really like anyone in that Jets-Bucks game. God, you can even say that. So this is like the first time where I'm kind of feeling a Cam Ward stack. I'll say A.O. Manor, Pollard, Cam Ward, throw in Ridley at 5,100, cheap enough, and then Chig at 3,400. I could see myself doing Titans doubles with a run back of JT. And if you did it the other way too, because, look, it's a good game. I kind of like the potential here. I know it's a division game, so it could play out a little bit ugly. But it's like if you did Daniel Jones with Tyler Warren and you ran it back with Pollard, I'm cool with that too. I think it's just a good enough game to kind of get there in a Millie script and enough floor plays, but also upside too. Like it wouldn't shock you if Pollard got 25. It wouldn't shock you if, Tyler Warren got 20 and Daniel Jones got 25 because they've already they've basically done that already. So it's like I could see myself stacking up this game more than I really anticipated coming in. And that's it's different. It's a little bit different on this slate.
One slate breaker on the Colts side is if Pierce gets onto the board, it's always a deep ball.
Always.
He's always viable for a deep. If you need like a cheaper wide receiver, I just don't think you need cheap players this week.
Are you a college football junkie, Felix?
I start paying attention mid-November.
Yeah, okay. Because I just want to be prepared, right? Because I like to do like where do you go to college and stuff, and usually the answer is only two things. It could be UC or Ohio State. And Alec Pierce was a UC cat.
Yeah, dude, he was pretty cool to watch.
So
that was okay. So I was in Austin, Texas, because that was the year I won it, and they were in the college playoffs. Oh man, that dude is fast. Desmond Ridder looks so like robotic when he was passing. Like if someone could just throw a nice fluid ball to Alec Pierce, like he's gonna blow up. And
that was with Ridder. And I just think about that. Burrow was basically all but a guarantee to go to UC, which I would have been 1 year prior to their CFP playoff appearance. But they had a lot of NFL talent. Trey Tucker and Tyler Scott both had a cup of tea in the NFL at the wide receiver position. Sauce Gardner, Alec Pierce, they were
solid, that year.
100% there. All right. Let's see. The Raiders and the Commanders here. Bullshit, butthole. I've hated everything this slate, it feels, except for the Bengals game. I did go on about that. I feel like I've been a really big pessimist in this slate. Raiders taking on the Commanders here. If you watched the Geno game on Monday night, I'm sorry for you. That was terrible. That was 3 hours of our life that we're not going to get back. Felix enjoyed it as a Chargers fan.
Yes,
Brock Bowers is definitely limited. It felt Jacoby Myers got going really late, which it just shows he only targets two dudes. It's Myers and a healthy Bowers at that point. Mariota is going to be a very chalk option at 4K. The question is, who do you stack him with? Deebo Samuel, looked okay through 2 games. The second game, a lot of it was kind of short throws around the line of scrimmage, nothing really too dynamic. Terry McLaurin's had a rough go at the first 2 games. Ertz is going to be without his guy, Jaden Daniels. I don't know what to think. I think Mariota is a good play as is. I think he'll probably be the chalky cash option and run him naked. You definitely don't want to kind of pair him up with anyone. The Eckler injury is a big thing, right?
Yep.
I don't think the work goes to just Krosky Merritt. He's not going to be involved in the passing downs.
No,
it's going to be more
they brought Chris back. Bill's going to get his, but it's not going to be for anything crazy.
Yeah, and I'm going to sound like, where the projections are wrong and stuff. It's like, where did he really get a bump at? Is he really going to get that much more work with Eckler out? I think the answer is no. I think it's a marginal bump to him at best because it seems like they wanted the vet out there who could pass block and a trail script, and that was Eckler. And who's it going to be this time? Well, it's probably going to be a lot of McNichols. And, these young running backs don't just get slotted into big roles because of injuries, especially when they already have guys kind of been established in that sense already on the roster. Talk to me about this game here, Felix.
Okay. So my play on this game is Raiders D. I think they've faced some good offenses, and I'm going to go back to Brock Bowers this week. A little bit lower ownership this week, I think, than he normally is going to have. He was dealing with a knee issue. Who knows if he's healthy or not? But I think another week past it, maybe he's on the healthier end of it. And I think Max Crosby is going to tear a new one into Marcus Mariota. Should tell him hey, you should retire, Marcus. He's going to put him into the ground more than once. I think it's going to be because I think the Raiders are better than the average team, but they're not. If they face anybody with an above average record, they're going to struggle a little bit. And without Jaden Daniels, this is a below average team. I do think they kind of mop the floor. I think you could take a one-off from the Commanders, but I think you're just going to be playing a little bit of roulette here if you do want to play one.
All right. 2,300 for that defense is crazy. I didn't realize it was that low. You look at Max Crosby. right? You know what you're going to get. You're going to get that pressure on that side too. And it wasn't like Jaden Daniels was completely kept clean. I know that I don't want to compare anyone against that Packers front because it is pretty good right now. The Commanders didn't really play that well. And I've always said this about the Commanders too. They were very, very efficient converting third downs last year. Very efficient. That's a really easy thing to kind of degrade an efficiency on. And then all of a sudden your offense really dips. And if you lose an elite quarterback and you replace him with a former Heisman winner, I don't know. I look at that. I'm with you. I'm going to go hand in hand with you on the Raiders defense. I'm not going to be overweight on Marcus Mariota at all. I don't really love the idea of going any of the pass catchers here either. I did play a lot of Debo on that showdown against the Packers, and it kind of worked out, but it got there late. I think he had like 3 or 4 catches before the final 2 drives. And even then, the final drive, he had 2 second to final drive, he had 2 catches, both in the red zone. One was the score. And then the last drive was just a dump off pass for about 7 yards. He was kind of a non-factor in a very chasey script, but we saw what week 1 is capable of. I think he had 10 targets or so, which was a lot on the amount of routes he ran. Just a matter of what the game plan will be. But I'm with you. I think the Raiders defense at 2,300, you pair him up with a guy like Wentz, and then you can really spend up at wide receiver. I'm kind of looking at that formula right now. That Raiders defense is way too cheap.
Which is why I was like bringing up earlier, like when we were asking to play, the receiver out of Carolina, I was just like, you don't need that. There's so many good spots on this board where you can spend down to get the elite wide receivers, the elite tight ends, the elite players of this on this slate. You can spend down and get good value, I think, on this slate. And I didn't mention it. Who knows? But it could be a breakout game for Genty. He's had a couple of subpar games, but it's been 2 okay defenses against the run. I don't really know that this defense is that elite against the run defense, but this could be. I'm going to play it through Brock Bowers and through the defense, but I'm not opposed to mixing in a bunch of Genty here.
We ready to put a flag plant on the day? Do you want to go Raiders money line plus 130?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I think I'm going to bet that. Yeah, 100%. Plus 130, Raiders money line. I know it's in Washington, but look, Geno just doesn't suck like he did against the Chargers. They were in that game despite playing pretty bad. And I have a lot of respect for that Chargers team and Harbaugh and stuff. And they looked presentable against them. And I think that this Chargers team was much better than this Commanders team that they're going to be facing. So, yeah, just keep it clean, Geno. Keep it clean. Yeah. Don't turn it over 3 or 4 times, please.
Yeah.
All right, Steelers, Patriots. Did you know the Patriots have had the worst pass defense in the league through 2 games?
It doesn't surprise me. Where's TJ Watt at? Or JJ Watt? Or no, TJ. Where's TJ at? Because it's been pretty bad.
Oh, for the Steelers too.
Oh yeah, they've been awful. Actually, yeah, both of them have been awful. Well, you can give a slight downgrade for Christian Gonzalez has been out, and he's still out this week too. So I think you can attack with DK this week. DK might be one of my favorite plays on the Steelers again this week, and mixing in some Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, it's interesting because look at who the Patriots have played. What is it? The Raiders and the Dolphins, and what was it? Trey Tucker, I think, had a long one to start it out in week 1, and then we saw last week too. It's just like the Tua check down merchant. It was A-Chain who got a lot of stuff. I think even like, what was that stat line there? Hold on, I'm gonna pull this game up. Just on the pure stat line here, because they give up over 300 yards passing per game right now. Tua threw for 315. 6 for 109 for Tyreek, 8 for 92 to A-Chain, 5 for 68 to Waddle. All right. Okay, that's cool. Then we got to remember what the Raiders did to them, right? Well, it was a lot of Jacoby Myers, 8 for 97, Brock Bowers, 5 for 103, Tucker and Thornton combined for 4 for 99. They are gettable down the field. And when you say DK Metcalf, what does he do, Felix? He
gets down the field.
Yes.
What this game feels like? This feels like week 1 Jets versus the Steelers. It almost feels exactly the exact same to me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how this game can play out. It's a randomly high scoring back and forth running quarterback against the Steelers. I don't know. I'm getting that vibe from this game. It might just have the highest total, and it's it's focused through a couple players.
So, interestingly enough, the Steelers' 7th worst passing defense. And I'm just talking about yards against for those wondering. It's not an official, I'm not doing advanced stats or anything like that. It's just yards against. NFL Pro has a lot of really good stuff. Funny part here, this is a little bit telling, and I know a lot of stats can be really noisy inside 2 games. Steelers have actually had decent pass pressure rate. They've had the 5th highest pressure rate in the league. They have given QBs an average time to throw of 2.53 seconds, which would be top 10 in the league. That just shows you that this secondary is just god-awful right now. Didn't they sign Jabril Peppers to try and fix that? Jabril Peppers is getting cooked in preseason. Yeah, good luck with that, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So
he played for Michigan like 15 years ago, man. Let's let him.
A former Michigan guy. Gross. Yeah, but now Drake May could be a very sneaky play at 5,300. And you talk about a guy who's a true dual threat as well. And a lot of people don't assume that with Drake May, but if there was someone who could pop off 40 yards rushing, I think he's kind of gotten that almost like a Josh Allen light in the sense of he had 10 rushes last week for 31 yards and a touchdown. I never think it's really truly baked into a lot of projections and stuff. I think it's kind of baked into an 18.45 projection here. A lot of people are going to assume that this rushing matchup or this matchup against the Steelers is still subpar. There's a chance that it could be if the Steelers ever pick up their secondary. I'm willing to buy it. I'm willing to buy on May. I'm willing to buy on, who do you stack him with? Kayshon Boutte a little bit.
I love the booty.
Yeah, I love the booty. That sounded like Al Pacino from Tropic Thunder. The problem is, if you did look at it further, Ramondre Stevenson went 5 for 88 as his leading receiver last week. Then the next best was 38 yards, right? Boutte in week 1 led his receiving core. What was it over 100 yards against the Raiders? And I know they only scored 13 points, but it's if you were to look at it, 6 for 103, 4 for 66, and then 6 for 57. You would almost have to limit it to Boutte, Henry, and Diggs for the most part. And I don't, we're not huge guys at Diggs, but 4,800 is kind of getting down there.
Yeah, it's getting down there. And he's going to be lined up on JPJ. And it's he's going to get – JPJ gives up some plays, but I do think he's a bit of a lockish down corner. This, he's not giving up – he's giving up big plays, but it's also kind of – and I had to see it for Stephon Diggs first before you start playing him. And but 4,800 is a nice price for him.
So my second flag plant is the Patriots. I'm going to take the Patriots here in this spot. I don't know about this Steelers team, man. I'm taking another plus money dog. You give me the Patriots at home. I know that they sucked against the Raiders. I'm well aware of that. I just don't think highly of the Steelers team right now. And I like the DK Metcalf call a lot, though. If I were to play someone, it'd be a Chase Script. Jalen Warren, you want to talk about an amazing play that got it last week. I mean, that's the type of stuff that you wonder why. Why is Caleb Johnson on the bench? Well, he also makes mistakes like touching the ball, goes to the end zone, and doesn't pick it up. The Seahawks scored a defensive touchdown, and that had a little bit to do with it. But also, I just think Jalen Warren is damn good too. But it's look, he's going to lead the backfield in touches. Kenneth Gainwell is going to be a little bit of a factor, but outside of DK Metcalf, I don't feel a need for really anyone else. I know someone mentioned here Jonnu Smith. Thoughts on Jonnu Smith? 4 for 27 last week. A lot of those around the line of scrimmage. 3,600 is not the worst. He is going to have design plays for him. So that's always the big thing. Is you're always going to get design plays for him. But yeah, I think my highest take on this one is a May double stack with Diggs, Boutte, and Henry being 2 of those 3, and running it back with a DK Metcalf. I think that would be the path there. Maybe. I mean, should we talk about Trayvon Henderson real quick? I think it's worth a topic. Man, that snap share last week was tilting, right?
Yeah,
it was tilting. I didn't even play that much Trayvon, but
me either.
Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson is RB1 still.
Yeah. So there's a guy hit him with the gritty best baller. He has 80%, feels like, for Ramondre Stevenson. So he's excited right now. But man, I cannot wait for Trayvon Henderson to take over this backfield. I just feel the coaches. We always have to we forget to account what the coaches are feeling and how they usually play. I mean, Vrabel didn't start Derrick Henry until year 3, even though the signs were there that he could absolutely handle the backfield. Clearly could. And so we have to downgrade. Yeah, I think we have to start downgrading coaches for using their talent early on. Trayvon's going to be an exceptional talent. We'll get his stuff when he will get his due. It's just I think you have to wait for them to show you that they're going to let him have the workload first.
Yeah, I think, and that's, it sucks to do that for a Millie mindset. But at the same time, I don't have a reason to think that will change. And the talent's going to be there at 5,400. If you did want like a really sharp pivot where it's like, I'm going to get him under 1%, your chances is until that happens, until he starts to get work. So you'll always get him below 1% now, I think, from here on out. Unless he goes for like 10 for 70 this week, then you'll kind of start to see it where it's like,
if Ramondre gets hurt, I mean, ship it to the moon, right? Like, so I think you should sprinkle him in. But I think you don't want to put more than one or two lineups into your 150.
I agree. This comment got me weak too because it kind of brought back a memory because you mentioned it, right?
Yeah, like that's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, you talking about you didn't start Derrick Henry. You're like, oh yeah, you're right. And then all of a sudden you mentioned the name that was starting over him, and it was like Dion.
And then he shared a little bit of a backfield with James White for like a week or two.
Like, I will say Henry's career being extended, he is defying father time. I keep fading. I faded him for 3 straight years in best ball. I keep waiting for him to fall off here. It gets like, these defense. I agree, Chris. I think this game, especially that the Steelers Patriots game we just talked about, I think it does come in a little bit underowned. I don't think people are. I think it takes a lot of people 4 to 5 weeks to be like, there's a trend. When look. Does 2 weeks ever indicate always 100% a true trend? No. But is it a good starting point? And do you want to use that limited info while we got it? 100%. I agree. I think both these defenses, the Steelers and Patriots, underwhelmed to start. And I do want to take advantage of that while people are still blind. All right. Packers. Browns. That's a football game right there, Felix.
Yep.
That's all I got.
So the defense that I was talking about that I'm going to spend up for, it is 100% the Packers. I could care less that, how good the passing game is for a 40-year-old. I'm always going to pick against the 40-year-old with the number one defense, the Super Bowl potential winning team that I've placed my futures on with the Packers because of the Parsons trade. I think he's looked electric. I think this is you're going to want to play some Jordan Love with a little sprinkle here and there with each player. I don't know if Tucker Kraft is out. I know he banged up his knee this week. So if he's out, like Luke Musgrave's a good cheap tight end. But yeah, like all the receivers will probably eat a little bit for the Packers. I'm going to bring it back with Tillman and Fannin, but I'm kind of out on everybody else.
Yeah, look, I think the Fannin play worked out last week, 4 for 48, I believe. I think is what he ended with, which it was pretty good. You got the snaps, you got the work in the slot. The price is no longer 3.1, right? It's 3.6, which, might sound minor, but it's a big deal, especially in the landscape of, a cheap tight ends being, he's 800 away from Tyler Warren, instead of 1.4K away from Tyler Warren. Like, that's the kind of comparisons that you kind of have here. I do think that Fannin and Tillman would probably be my 2 favorite plays from the Browns here. I mean, if you did want to make I think this Packers defense is just good. And you said it best too with Mike Parsons. Like, they made the Washington Commanders offense look really tame last time out. And I know that was a Thursday night football game last week. It was prime time. Everyone saw it. But also you go back to week 1 too. And look, this is why the same reason why I'm betting Luka MVP this year, Felix, is because, just guys who leave Dallas get a little bit of spite, right? And they get a little bit of swagger, and they get that, like, okay, I'm going to show you got to pay me my worth. Did Jerry Jones pay him his worth? I think so. I think that there's, probably a little bit of a, fake storyline there. But this Packers defense shut down the Lions. They made the Commanders team look pretty tame. I think they're going to make this Browns offense look really bad too, just like the Ravens did last week. That means I'm also not going to be too high on this Packers offense. You know why? Because I just don't. I know Jaden Reed out. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit slow. The only guy I'm going to have too much interest in is Wicks and Jacobs. I think that Jacobs could be a good play. But we've seen it time and time again where if they get up by 14, 21, it's not Jacobs getting the carries there late on. All right? It kind of handicaps his upside just a bit. If they're up by 21, it will not shock you to see a guy like Emmanuel Wilson get some carries, Chris Brooks get a lot of those carries in the fourth quarter. So I just want to throw caution to the wind. I know this game is in Cleveland. Home games are very hard to blow another team out. But I do want to throw I think the Packers went by 21. Is that a good thing for Josh Jacobs? It probably is. I mean, the more points you score, obviously.
Yeah, someone's got to score it, yeah.
But I will say it's he's going to get so much fourth quarter burn. Yeah, I mean, I just want to throw that out there. I just want to throw it out there. Throw caution into the wind. Without Jaden Reed, though, Tucker Kraft last week. I mean, you mentioned this Packers offense, but Tucker Kraft last week, woo! He can move. He can move.
Yeah, man. I got a lot of Tucker Kraft to aid. So I see in the chat he is okay to play and expected to play. So I'm excited about that. My highest Green Bay Packers wide receiver that I own in best ball with 40 some odd % is Dontavian Wicks, who is feasting a little bit earlier on with Reed being out. So I'm pretty excited about that too.
Even with Reed in, he was getting targeted a lot in the first half. And then the second half kind of went away. That's the concern with the Packers offense for me, is that it could be any one of those guys.
Yeah, they spread out.
Kraft is the only one I can really trust on a week-to-week basis in terms of pass catchers. And then Jacobs, you can trust in the running game. And I agree, Brian, you mentioned this being a little bit low scoring. Browns defense looked good against the Bengals.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people could have concerns. The Ravens game blew out late on. I'm willing to kind of throw that away. Game at the dog pound. Let's keep it close.
Yeah, it could be just the main plays from this is going to be Jacobs and Packers D.
Yeah. They should have just kept Kraft out this week. Yeah, you got a little bit of a banged up injury there, but if you're healthy enough to go, you got 10 days as well, right? That's always the big thing, getting that Thursday night game. They got a few extra days of rest. Big news that hit just in recent times. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be questionable for this one with an illness. You got Sam Darnold there as well at 5,100. We've talked about this Saints team a little bit to start out the year. I think the Saints are just a tough team to kind of figure out for the most part, because everyone has just assumes that they're going to be bad, but I think they covered in back-to-back weeks even. I want to say I don't know
if they covered, but it didn't feel like they covered. You know what I mean?
Week one they definitely did, because I think it was they only lost by. I want to say it was 9.5 or 10.5 even. And then last week I don't remember what the spread was against the 49ers, but it was 26-21. Spencer Rattler threw for 3 touchdowns, 207 yards. You also had Chris Olave, who is leading this receiving room like he should, right, until he gets concussed. But I mean, this is a lot of it's dependent on how Jackson Smith and Jigba feels tomorrow. Right. And if he is out, well, you're the biggest Cooper Kupp guy I know.
Yeah.
And he looked good last week. He looked great last week, too.
He didn't look too rusty. He did. My guy, Cooper Kupp, not as dead as everybody thinks he is. He's got a little bit of life still left in him. And I think with JSN, maybe a little bit too limited. Maybe they, in the one receiver sets that they run sometimes, they run a little bit more Cooper Kupp instead of him. Zach Charbonnet not playing. And it could be a slower game, a lot of Kenneth Walker. We might want to mix in some AJ Barner. He's projected for 5.48, but he could, one touchdown put him up. There's a lot of ownership to Kenneth Walker, and we did fade. We're fading, mentally, or we're fading Jordan Mason. I should fade Kenneth Walker, but I just he can get the whole workload. But as in Minnesota, they're going to let Carson Wentz throw it a lot more than predicted, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I think there's going to be a lot more potential for Kenneth Walker scoring than there is. Dude, 1,000%. If Horton is if Jason is out, Horton should be a smash play. He is a very explosive player and has shown it through a couple weeks now. I think he got. I can't remember if he got a touchdown last week or not, but
he did.
He has looked good. Yeah,
because Bruce and I did a ton of preseason NFL content this year, so grinding every single player. And he brought this up before the preseason games even started. He said they're calling this dude the next Jerry Rice, and it's Torrey Horton.
Dude, he looks good.
He scores last week. You just kind of have to refer to that comment, oh man, could he be? Could he be? And he gets that touchdown last week, and he would get a lot of snaps. And what is he? You have to be free, right? 3,400. So. Yeah, Torrey Horton could be in the mix too, and it's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, right? And if you do want the full gist of the scoop, right, where it's oh man, I want to know what would be the exact plan if Jackson Smith and Jigba is out. Well, we got a website, we got a lot of content that'll be put up, we got a Discord that'll have all that stuff up. So if we are wrong in assuming that, like we're going to talk about him like he's in, right? We kind of already mentioned him, if he was out, but the exact plan, you'll have everyone kind of chiming in, Big T, JSU, JBC, all of those guys, where it's just like, just a ton of news that just get put into the chat and quick takes. Yes. That's the big thing to kind of get it.
I'm new to the Discord game, and I will say there's probably nothing better than the RPS Discord. They are in there 24/7. If you have a comment or a thought, man, everybody's receptive to it. Everybody's awesome in there. So.
Yes, it's a really nice place, and especially for college football news too. Like, you just get like a little bit of scoops everywhere where it's like, we find out who's in and who's out. Like we had Noah Whittington for Oregon out. Last week you get that Jaden Lamar at no ownership at 3K. It didn't quite work out, but anytime you get a starting Oregon running back at 3K, you gotta love life. But yeah, I mean, look, Juwan Johnson's probably the guy to talk about on the Saints side here a little bit, right? You talked about him last week extensively. 3,900 though still feels a little bit too cheap. I mean, gosh, are you starting to believe in this Saints offense just a little bit after what they did last week against the 49ers?
There's a couple players from the Saints I'm like kind of starting to gravitate towards more, and it's just Juwan Johnson is my guy since the beginning of the season. It's just Rattler hasn't really shown me enough that he doesn't like extensively look for the outside receivers. He likes to look a little bit in. So Juwan Johnson's been filling that for him. To me, it's Juwan Johnson. Like if I'm playing anybody, and I might sprinkle one or two Olave, one or two Shaheeds, just because they do have that potential for breakout games.
100%. Yeah, we did have Zach Charbonnet in the projections there. I just zeroed him out there, and I kind of bumped Kenneth Walker to kind of give that as well. But the Kenneth Walker thing you mentioned, he's going to get a lot of ownership. I think he'll be the true running back one. Like, I don't think that they're going to throw in work for, anyone behind him as well. And I got my filter set up now, but it's like if I were to hit that, never mind. If I were to hit unhide, thank you, hide remove players and unhide it, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Helani, Boise State legend, or anything like that. I should have got called that. I mean, I knew that was Helani. I faded him in preseason too many times. He had to make that damn team.
That's so good.
But yeah, I mean,
maybe he had that touchdown last week.
Did he? Wait, Helani scored last week?
He had the special teams touchdown that Caleb Johnson dropped.
I did not know that was him. I
was like, oh my! I have my best ball. Like I got 6 points somewhere.
God. I did not know he recovered that. It's the guy who came in and recovered it. He did a good job to kind of like almost stuck their knee in and stuck real quick to the ground. But NFL has shown time and time again that you can like literally grab it and slide, and it's more of a possession than a catch. Yeah. I don't really know the rule on that, but yeah, I mean, I think it would be a lot of Kenneth Walker if we did get JSN out. Like if JSN's in, I'm going to be a little bit interested. I'm not even going to lie. Like I like JSN quite a bit. I think he's going to, I like I mentioned before, I think he has a good chance to lead the NFL maybe in catches. And, I'm not going to fade that at 6,500. We are selling on the Saints overall. And I think after the first couple of weeks of adrenaline, you're going to start to see the performance kind of taper off to what their true level could be, which is going to be a very subpar team in the NFL this year. So yeah, Horton will be the guy. I hope we can kind of click on at 3,400, but if Jackson Smith and Jigba's in, I'll kind of stick with the two studs in Seattle. As for the Saints side, be a little bit of Juwan Johnson, then maybe a splash of Kamara and Olave, but that's it. I'm not going to be thrilled playing anyone from a low team total like the Saints. All right, Felix, talk to me. Chargers time. You know what to do.
My boys finally on a main slate here.
Yes.
I feel like we're like a little bit we're like the Packers of the AFC, where we have this elite quarterback and who spreads it around to everybody. It's going to be a bunch. It's going to be hard to figure out who he's going to throw it to. The running back game is a little weak right now, but we have going against the stronger run defenses in the league right now. So I'm thinking maybe it's a bounce back game for one of Hampton or Najee, my million maker man Najee. But if I'm going to lean one way, I'm going to probably lean Hampton. He has gotten the first set, even though he did fumble at the very end of the game and got kind of benched after that a little bit. But I think they go back to him, and I think that's the way to attack Denver's through the run game. And I'm personally not attacking the pass game too much, but if I do, it's going to be McConkey. I think they might put Surtain on Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnson. I think McConkey might line up in the slot, maybe a little, no press coverage. They might get him little dink and dunks here and there.
Yeah, we haven't had a lad game just yet, right? We've had Keenan Allen have back-to-back good performances, but it's one of those things. I mean, Keenan Allen's price tag is going to attract a lot of people, $4,700 for his role, where you're getting most of the routes. I mean, you're getting a large percentage of the routes there. I think almost like 80, 85%. He's out there for a lot of Herbert's throws. I mean, the interesting part here, Felix, is a lot of people pigeonholed Harbaugh and Roman.
Yeah.
And like,
it's the full first-run team, yeah.
And I mean, when you had a running back at quarterback, in Roman's case, right, with Lamar Jackson, of course you're going to run the ball a lot more, right? And not to say that Lamar didn't have success throwing the ball, but I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, when you got an elite runner at that position there, why would you throw the ball too much and
take advantage of what you got? Yeah,
exactly. And it's just Harbaugh went through with Andrew Luck too, and it's like, he's had good quarterbacks in the past. And, he didn't run the ball too much at Stanford or whatever. I'm like, well, I mean, come on now. You got to look at the important games for those because, even Ohio State will run the ball 50 times against Ohio. But when push comes to shove with Will Howard and stuff, they were making sure that Jeremiah Smith got the ball there, in important situations. So it's like, I don't know. The big thing for me, and I just went on that rant, is the Chargers are throwing the ball at an incredibly high clip. Yeah. Very high clip. And they're barely running the ball. And you mentioned the Broncos pass defense is pretty elite. It almost becomes like push comes to shove here. I don't know if, I think Herbert's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I think the weapons are going to be there too. Just can they run the ball? And Hampton hasn't really looked great. Even with the ball in his hands, he hasn't looked that great right now. And Najee, with one eye, he looked decent last week. I'm not even going to lie. I think he was able to fall forward a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see how this Broncos defense holds up against a Chargers team that's clearly had a shift in offensive focus where it's drop back 40 times with Herbert and let him decide the game. You know what? I think that's a pretty damn good plan.
I also think, remember when we went back to Vrabel, we kind of went to see how he coached. I think this Chargers team does what is given to them. So if the pass defense is elite, I do think we see more running this week than we have. I think it's going to be, we'll still get some good passes, a good share amount of passes in there, but I think it's going to be tailored around the running back game and, maybe get a little bit of a light load, couple dink and dunks. I think they're going to they're going to try to lower they're not going to be throwing deep bombs to Quentin Johnson like they did last week. It's going to be short game. It's going to be all running back game. And, they're not going to try to play risky. They've been playing pretty safe. Passing the ball, maybe not sound safe, but that was how you attack the Chiefs is through the passing game.
Yeah, I agree. And it'll be interesting. I'm very curious, just like on a football nerd point of view, is like, how do the Chargers approach this game? Because if they come out and sling it 40 times again against the Broncos, that's going to be their philosophy throughout the entire season. Yeah. Why not? Justin Herbert and Madison Beer Mojo and everything around it. He's got, we're both big fans of Herbert. I mean, obviously you're a Chargers fan. I love this game. I think he gets a bad shtick because of a couple rough L's, but it ain't his fault. I'll say that right now. The Denver D is fake, your mama's fave says. I could buy it. They look so good against the Titans, but that was a rookie quarterback in his first start. I mean, I'm willing to kind of use this game as a feel out. I'm not going to be overstacking the Chargers at all. I'll probably only have one off from it. And that even goes for the Broncos here. I don't really have any excitement. I mean, talk to me about Denver real quick. Troy Franklin.
We called him again last week. And I think he's kind of like the main guy for Mr. Bo. I think it's, you can play Troy, you can play Cortland Sutton. I wouldn't play the running backs against the Chargers. I know it's a revenge game for J.K. Dobbins, but I think I'm kind of out on most of the Denver pieces, as most of the pieces have struggled against the Chargers D.
Yep, I am with you. And Lion Cubs, how about this? All right, I'll chug a beer next show because I'm craving a beer. The next show, make that tomorrow. Wait, I don't know. I might be too lazy to go to Publix. We'll see. I mean, next Saturday or tomorrow, I'll chug a beer. You just got to like this video here. And Walker will be the highest owned of the two cheap guys. And CMC will be the highest of the top two. Now make your own choice. I think the Walker thing, so Brian, like the thing is, like obviously McDonald's still being the coach there, right? he relied on Walker a lot to start out last season, it felt, right? And then it really just relied on Charbonnet. Then he got 2 running backs. He was like, I'll split the time. I think he just goes back to 1 running back. It's my theory.
Yeah.
And if it was a split,
I agree.
I will definitely be concerned about Walker's foot if it does become a split today.
Yeah.
That'll be the big thing. I was just told Rubio was drinking water. Hey, Wiley, it was room temperature water too. All right, room temperature water. That's the big caveat there.
Got mini GSU over here.
Oh, Jay, Sydney Sweeney, Madison Beer. I'll tell you what.
Well,
Madison Beer. Look what she's doing for Justin Herbert's game right now. All right,
she's an elevator of talent. That's all I'm putting out there.
Yeah, exactly. She's getting the best out of Justin Herbert. We haven't seen this since his rookie season. All right, it's not hardball. It's Madison Beer. All right?
It's all Madison Beer.
Cardinals taking on the 49ers here. Mac Jones having an okay thing a run last week. They scored 26-21. They ended up getting the dub. CMC looked good. I mean, there's I can't really kind of avoid that. We kind of had concerns coming into the season of his calf. Not concerned anymore, that is for sure. We talked about spending up at tight end before, especially on the week 1 slate. We talked about that a ton. The prime example of it this week. We have cheap quarterbacks. We have cheap defenses. You mentioned the Raiders defense. I think that's one of our favorite plays just consensually. When you brought that up, I'm doing more and more work. I'm I want to punt a defense most of the times anyway. I'll definitely gladly punt the Raiders. I'll start my teams off with Wentz, Jefferson, and the Raiders defense. Leaves me a lot of room to spend up at tight end. And Trey McBride, I had no reason to get off him this week. Felix, what do you think?
Dude, I'm on the same boat. The Trey McBride is just the epitome of Travis Kelce without the touchdowns. He is just solid production week after week. He's going to have high ownership because we have so many pay down options, but that's good chalk. There's good chalk and there's bad chalk. This is good chalk. I think so what if he doesn't get a touchdown? You're still going to get 15 to 20 points and you're going to feel good about it.
100%. And touchdown variance runs and runs hot, runs cold. I think McBride's been running cold on that, and he's going to get one here eventually in 5,700. I'm gladly going to do it. Juwan Jennings last week, you talk about a resurgence after the issues that he had of an eventful offseason in his own right, an eventful training camp, whether he was hurt or not. He was the beneficiary of Kittle and co being out, and Ricky Pearsall is there, but is Juwan Jennings the number 1 option now? If, obviously, it's Christian McCaffrey than everyone else, but is it Juwan Jennings now kind of supplanting himself as the guy with Kittle out?
I think it is for Mac Jones. I think once we get Purdy back, which I don't think they officially ruled him out. I could be wrong, but I think it was highly unlikely, which probably means out. But if Mac Jones is playing, Juwan Jennings is the play. If Purdy's playing, it's all Ricky Pearsall. I think that's their guys, and who knows when. I think Ayuk's not coming back to week 6, so we don't have to worry about all that. But yeah, I think if you're gonna pair Mac Jones with anybody, you got to do it with Juwan Jennings. He has shown that is his guy, his favorite wide receiver of the two. CMC is obviously a solid play. Honestly, I think he's a solid play until he hits 10,000, which I don't know if he'll get to this year, but he can't go wrong. You're not gonna. He is the safest cash play ever, or if you want to spend up, you're going to get solid production out of CMC.
Yeah, you know what you're getting into with CMC, right? And whether it's a trail script or whether they're leading, right, it probably means that he scored a few touchdowns to get there to that point. And obviously his involvement in the passing game was kind of non-existent in that first half last time out, and then he kind of got going there with a couple late catches in the 2-minute drill, and he got there, right? And that's the important part. He's always going to get there.
Yeah.
Kind of go further in on the Trey McBride thing. Back-to-back games with 6 catches, no touchdowns in either one, 78 and 61 yards. It might seem middling, and it might seem that Trey McBride is a much better play, and even Juwan Johnson, and I get that. It's just one of those things where he is most capable of scoring 25 from anyone at that tight end spot this week, right? And I'm always going to be spending up at tight end when I can. And look, Fannin last week I punted, right? I didn't miss out really on anything. Who went off the tight end position last week? It was kind of a non-factor for the most part, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
Juwan had another touchdown, I believe.
Yeah,
but I don't remember anything from last week.
Yeah, it's if you told me that a tight end is going to get 24 on the slate, would you lock that tight end? I would. And
yeah.
No, I'm not locking Trey McBride, but I'm just saying, like, if you said someone was going to get 24, I would assume it's very much Trey McBride central. Yeah. And Tucker Kraft wasn't on that main slate, but he was a guy who went off the tight end position last week. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah. I was trying to think of the main slate. I don't remember anybody. Jake Ferguson, I think was on the Millie Maker, but I don't remember what his output was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Jake Ferguson, he had like 9 catches. That actually might have been it. You know what? Juwan Jennings has not been ruled out, but he was questionable, right? He was trending towards playing was the last thing I read, but they did elevate Malik Turner from the practice squad. So that is definitely something kind of important. The last thing I read that he was trending toward playing, and so I just assumed that he was in. But if he does miss, that would be a lot of pure Saul and CMC involvement. Again,
yes.
Definitely be in the Discord. That news is definitely going to be fluid. I hadn't seen him get rolled out officially yet. So if you did see anything, let me know. But yeah, I mean, that is definitely news that I just assumed that he was going to be in. So it'll be good. All right. Anyone else that you want to talk about in this game here, Felix?
James Conner's like an untold player that's not getting looked at. He has the capability of breaking a slate, but not really. At the same time, it's like he's just a nice bring back.
Yeah, 100%. And again, we can only assume that Juwan's in. I agree. I haven't seen it on X just yet either, but if he did miss, it'll be interesting. All right. Part of the game of the day. You know what? I'm glad this is a 425 game. America's team. All right. The Dallas Cowboys. That was probably one of the best games that you'll see. I mean, Russ Wilson turned back the clock. I'm a sucker for long field goals. I mean, that is just probably the most obvious thing about me. But I love that Brandon Aubrey 64-yarder that had the leg to go in from 72, it felt like. Oh, my God. This offense is going to score points. This defense is going to yield points, it looks. And the first 3 quarters of that Eagles game kind of showcased a lot more than maybe what people were expecting. And then you see what the Giants do, where it's like, oh, man, they put up 34 in regulation or whatever, or 37. I don't even remember what it was now. But it's like, this Dallas defense could be bad, and we know what the offense is going to do, and it's going to be involved in shootouts. Well, CeeDee Lamb's going to be wide receiver 1. Yeah. Dak Prescott's going to be the guys looking, or Dak Prescott's going to be a good play at 5,900 when CD goes off. Javonte Williams has stepped up at 6,100 and been an absolute stud, and that's even with Miles Sanders, finding the score sheet last time out. Jake Ferguson, a bunch of catches, was the second favorite target along with Pickens there. Like, the stacking options on the Cowboys are clear. Kevontae Turpin, he got banged up, missed the fourth quarter and overtime last week. I don't think that brings anyone too much into play or anything like that. But, yeah, I mean, that is just noteworthy for injury-wise. Then you look at the Bears. Man, I don't get as excited, but I do want to say, like, Odunze. I know JSU.
Rome was one of my guys this past ball.
You were in on it, too.
Yeah.
Great play in best ball. And he's looking like the part here, too. And last week was another big performance from him. I don't know if I want to stack up Chicago too much, but I mean, if you saw it last week, Russ Wilson double stacks were more than the move. I mean, could Caleb Williams double stacks be the move this week?
I always go back to there's a game a couple years ago, Detroit versus Seattle, and the play was to overstack that game. And sometimes you just get to feel like this is the game that everybody wants to see, everybody wants to play. But nobody overstacked it correctly. And I think that might be what we do here if you want to play it. I don't think a one-off wins it here. I think either it's going to be like the full stack of the game or it's going to be none of it. There is potential rain, which might make it a little off-putting to some people. So maybe they play the running backs and maybe that is the one-off, but I'm personally not going to play it that way. But I'm also going to bring in Luther Burden. Maybe they there's been some coach speak that they're going to bring him in. Maybe he's the part of the overstack that that we weren't expecting to be a part of it.
You know what? That was funny because someone just asked that. Could Burden get more burn? Right? That would be an interesting play there. Zacchaeus. I mean, Zacchaeus in that first week too was very much a factor as well. And I agree, Chris. I wish this game was in Dallas as well for the Dome. Yeah, no one. I expected. I actually had Wandale and Neighbors, so that was part of that Tyquan Thornton team that ended up in the top 1% last week. Was a Neighbors Wandale stack, but no Russell Wilson. It was Trevor Lawrence with Brian Thomas Jr., if you can believe it, along with Tyquan Thornton. So I had 4 wide receivers in it. And yeah, I mean, no one overstacked it correctly, because if you had I don't know if CeeDee Lamb would have been in the winner either way, but it's like if you had Javonte with Russell Wilson, Malik Neighbors, and Wan'Dale Robinson, you were looking really elite, and you could throw in Jake Ferguson in that mix too, where you had 5 guys from that game all just really go off. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing that here. We saw this Bears defense absolutely collapse last week, right? I think a lot of people are going to look at that. And you gave up 50 to the Lions after they could barely score against the Packers. And then you're like, oh, man, week 1, maybe they aren't that bad through the first half. And then they made J.J. McCarthy look passable. Is this defense terrible? The jury's still out on Chicago for me just a little bit. Like, I don't know exactly what's going to be the case there. But I know one thing for sure, Felix, is I'm a believer in this Dallas offense, and I think that they're going to be able to move the ball no matter who they're going against. And I think this game does get pretty hectic, and I think it will be a great game to watch from a neutral point of view. And I think that Dak's stacks are going to be incredible, and I think even double stacking Caleb is in play. 5,600 is not a bad tag. He's willing to use his legs a ton. Odunze, Moore, and whoever else is always going to be affordable when his highest priced receivers, 5,600. So. Yeah, I'm okay stacking this game up. I like it. I like this game. I like any game that has Dallas on the scoreboard this season, and I don't think I'm going to get too crazy beyond that.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree. I think the best play is to play through the Cowboys, because they're going to put up the points, because this Bears defense is awful. It's just going to be how. Yeah, I think we play. I think it's going to be. It's not going to be Giants close. I think they win it, but I think it's
that's the funny part is, do you sell, are you selling on the Dallas defense being that bad, right?
Yeah.
They've obviously looked really bad against the Giants there, but is Caleb Williams even as good as Russell Wilson at this stage?
They're about the same kind of projection, I think, at this point. But I do think there's been a lot of boneheaded mistakes that Caleb's been making that I think will cost him a game.
All right, fun little parlay here. Plus 748. Raiders, Patriots, Cowboys there. Plus 748. I like that. All money line. Be a good time to kind of watch and cheer on. We get the late hammer too with the Cowboys. For those who like to hedge, you'll have a hedging opportunity because you'll have the first 2 legs done through and through, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I just had to double check to make sure that the Raiders and Patriots weren't. All right. Let's go ahead and think. Brian, on the account that I use, I adjust projections and stuff. I bump Dak a decent bit. I always get a lot of Dak. All right, play of the day, Felix. We're already done with all the games, and it's almost 10:30. You talk about a show that's running 90 minutes, which is perfect. This is our chance, and we'll also do a pick six. We'll do a couple props for the pick six, right?
Yeah, I got mine set up pick six already, so good.
Perfect. Play of the day, DFS purpose. Who are you going with here? And give a case for him as well. I think I already know your pick, though.
Yeah, I think I kind of gave it away at the very beginning. I am going Bucky Irving as my play of the day. He is one low owned. It could be, they're going to be ahead, and they're going to play from ahead, because I don't think Tyrod's going to be able to hold it. I think so. He's going to get a lot of work. He's going to get the touchdowns because, they might feel bad for giving Rachaad White one for whatever reason they did that. And I think it's going to be I already have it in my pick six, but I think it's about 109 rushing yards and 1, maybe 2 touchdowns for Bucky.
Bucky Irving, Felix's play of the day. I like it a lot. I'm going to go with, I don't think his ownership is going to be incredibly high owned. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. I've already said how, as a Bengals fan, I'm a very big realist of how this team is going to perform without Joe Burrow. Well, that's the offense, all right? I think they could be fine. Browning and Zach Taylor can actually coach with Browning. It's interesting. He does elevate his coaching game. This defense is still horrific in the secondary. Al Golden has done a great job. Look at Notre Dame's defense, by the way, through 3 weeks. Struggling without Al Golden. Bengals defense has looked better. However, just manpower and talent, they lack, and they lack a lot of it. And DJ Turner, questionable. Cam Taylor-Britt, questionable. You talk about 2 of their only capable guys in the secondary there, and you're going to have to rely on Geno Stone. Oh, no. Justin Jefferson's going to have a big day tomorrow at 7,500. He is going to prevail in the battle of the Bayou. He's going to outscore Chase tomorrow in the matchup. Vikings.
I think the free square for the week also is Carson Wentz at 4K. The free square that you can.
Yeah, I think that's definitely my stack. It would be
because it goes perfect with Jefferson. You know how we had it week 1 where free square goes to, I don't remember who it was, but we nailed that free square. Abuka was. I think the free square this week is Carson Wentz at the mid 4K.
100%. Pick 6 time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the water here real quick. Justin Jefferson over 75.5 receiving yards, Felix.
Okay. The first thing I had here was 111 rushing / receiving yards for Saquon Barkley.
I like it. Okay, so Saquon
just based,
Barkley.
Yeah. Just because it's going to be competitive, and it's he had plus 200 the last 2 times they faced the Rams.
Perfect. So we're going with a pair of studs here to start us out. Over 111.5 rushing plus receiving for Saquon Barkley. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, I'm also going to kind of sift around here a little bit here, Felix. So I'm seeing guys that are okay. I'm seeing guys that are kind of underwhelming. And I do want to throw in unders, right? I think that's an important thing. I do like mixing in unders. Who likes throwing 6 overs in and rooting on their guys? I like rooting against people.
Okay.
I'm evil like that. I'm going to go, oh gosh, now I got to find an under that I can truly root against. I just saw it. Give me a second here. No, not that one. Not this one. Do you have another one real quick while I find it?
Yep. I got T-Mac over 64.5 receiving yards.
Ted McMillan.
Yes.
Over 64.5 receiving yards. All right. Perfect. All right. Now here was my under. There it is. All right. This one's interesting. Okay. If you don't like it, we don't have to add it, but I'm going with a backup quarterback. All right. I don't know. Going under 21.5 receiving yards for Jalen Lane. I think that's a little bit of a high line.
Yeah, I like that.
Quarterback, and it's a little bit high, right? I know you can get there with 1 catch, but you're going to see a lot of Debo, a lot of McLaurin, a lot of Ertz, right? That kind of thins out the receiving room outside of that. Luke McCaffrey got a lot of work late on as well. Jalen Lane, more of a special teams guy at this stage. I think it will be limited playing time for him in a passing offense. I don't think really throws the rock entirely too much. Under 21.5 receiving yards for Jalen Lane tomorrow. All right, we got 4 down. You got one more for me, Felix?
I got the Bucky Irving 70 yards rushing, obviously, as my play of the day. I go back to the well, and I put 70.5 yards over rushing.
All right, I love it. And now we are going to go to I kind of like this under because I've been hating on him all year. I'm going to do it. All right, I'm going to be a fan of the unders. James Conner, under 51.5 rushing yards. All right, I think Trey Benson's the better back. Unders let you win a little bit more for what it's worth on NFL because not a lot of people go with the unders too much, and it gets you those purple payouts, right? Where it's more than the 25x if you do a 6 of 6 here of straight up odds. All right, $10 pays $250, 20 pays $500. That's easy math right there, 25x. And again, you can win more than that through pick 6. That is the line here. It's Justin Jefferson over 75.5. Saquon Barkley over 111.5 rushing plus receiving. Ted McMillan over 64.5 receiving. Jalen Lane under 21.5 receiving yards. James Conner under 51.5 rushing yards. And Bucky Irving over 70.5 rushing yards. All right. For Felix and for I, we appreciate y'all for watching here. Greatly appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe for us. If one of us is not at the top in the Millie contest tomorrow, well, there's one thing we know for sure. We hope it's one of y'all. Have a great rest of y'all's day, and bye-bye.